This is a tornado, but there's certainly a very distinct hook showing up here on Doppler radar. So a core of heavy rainfall. What we're not seeing is any lightning, and that tells us that the atmosphere is somewhat stable up above. So this is a very low-level circulation. The actual updraft isn't going way up high in the sky. It's kind of confined to the lower part of the atmosphere. So there's likely a pretty good lowering that you're seeing here west of Geneva, and that rotation, even though we don't have that vigorous, deep updraft, is still strong enough to perhaps produce a brief isolated tornado. So if you live in this area northwest of Geneva towards Lytle there, this is off to the south and to the east of Sampson, I would say go someplace safe and just ride out this cell as it comes on through. Heavy rainfall here northwest of Geneva, and then that very discernible hook showing up on Doppler radar. There's a look at the velocity data, and we'll stick with this cell here for a little while. I want to keep monitoring what is happening with this rotation area, because if this tightens just a little bit more, that would indicate that rotation in the atmosphere coming down to the ground. Of course, that would mean that we have a tornado. That is a look at the storm relative velocity. And that's a pretty good indication of rotation, and this accounts for the forward motion of the cell at the same time. So we will continue to watch this cell and others as they form across the Wiregrass. This is a big view of what we're looking at this afternoon. We've had a forewarned weather day declared for a day now, kind of pinpointing this afternoon for that threat for some strong storms to come on through. Again, not much lightning with this line, but all of this is occurring along and ahead of a cold front. So that is the actual cold front. Just ahead of the front, we have temperatures in the 70s. We have dew points well into the 60s. We have enough moisture and warmth in the atmosphere to create some lift, but not real vigorous convection in the Wiregrass. But because of that low-level wind shear, there's some rotation with these cells that are coming on through the Wiregrass. So if you're looking at Troy to Andalusia in this area, you are fine. That rain band is through you, but within this line, from Barber County now southward into Coffee County, southward towards Destin, there's some weak rotation within this line. But the main area that we are watching is that cell now in Geneva County, and that very distinct hook showing up off to the west there of Geneva. Again, no lightning with this cell, some intense rainfall indicated by dark red. This is tracking off to the northwest, so that will carry up into say the western part of Houston County, the southern part of Dale County, passing south of Enterprise here over the next half hour. The movement is pretty good here off to the north and to the east. And again, as we kind of zoom in here, what you're looking at is that area of rotation now off to the west, northwest of Geneva. Let me save this to keep it handy. And there's Lytle. So this is heavy rainfall here. And there's that very distinct hook showing up. So that's the pocket of rotation in the atmosphere. If we go back over to the velocity view, the rotation area has tightened up a little bit. This does not quite indicate that we have a tornado, but this is certainly a very strong circulation in the atmosphere. So this is Highway 52, just south. I'm talking like a mile south of Lytle is that pocket of rotation, and there's Geneva. So this will pass off to the northwest side of Geneva through the central part of Geneva County. If this continues to tighten just a little bit more, it wouldn't take much for that to reach the ground. It looks like the new scan came in, and that rotation isn't quite as strong. So there's rotation within that cloud in the atmosphere, but not tight enough to allow a funnel cloud to come down to the ground. But we're kind of giving you a heads up here. This severe thunderstorm warning is really for the potential of a tornado to form, because we're not seeing any distinct, widespread, damaging straight line winds. If we switch over to a different view here, I'm going to go and show you the radar from Fort Novacell. So that's why the colors kind of switch here a little bit. Both of them indicate where that rotation area is. This is a distant radar. This is in the northern part of Dale County, indicating these green inbound winds, so up in the atmosphere just a little bit. But if we plot some of these wind speeds, we're probably in the 50 some mile per hour ballpark. I'm not getting those to plot, but generally 40 to 50 miles per hour aloft. So there's good rotation, good winds blowing in from the southwest, and just a little hint there of winds blowing in the opposite direction. That, of course, is the circulation that we're watching, the rotation. This is a product that accounts for the forward motion of the speed, so we get a better view of exactly where that rotation area is, and it's just northwest now of 52 of Geneva, crossing 52 at this point. Again, strong rotation in the atmosphere. This is a severe thunderstorm warned cell, not a tornado warned cell yet, but there's certainly some possibility of this rotation area tightening just a little bit. This is now using the radar in Red Bay at Eglin Air Force Base, and you can see again right along 52 now is that pocket of rotation. Meteorologist Zach Hatcher here as well, monitoring what we're looking at on this computer, on a different computer. Zach, are you seeing anything differently from this cell or other cells in the Wiregrass?
David, I'm not seeing any other major concerns right now. I'm just looking at this one that you've been looking at because it has caught our attention. It is that couplet, that rotation just west of Geneva, really, and it's crossing over Highway 52 as we speak. This is the only game in town right now, but notice how this one kind of pushed ahead of the main line, and that gave it a better chance to organize, and that does happen a lot with some of these cold fronts. So I'm not surprised that we are seeing what we're seeing with this cell, but of course other parts of the line could develop some rotation. We've already had some pockets of rotation in Pike County, close to Barber County, and we're not done with this yet until this front moves through later on this evening, and this front's contributing to this rise of the air. We're seeing some unstable atmosphere out there compared to this morning. The energy has increased a bit, and some of this is lining up with the better wind energy before it kicks out of here. And for now, I want to say that wind energy is best from around Troy, maybe stretching to around Dothan and up near Lake Eufaula. But as that low-level jet moves out of the way, this severe threat's going to wind down. So we got a few hours window to go through this over the next couple hours. That's when you need to pay the most attention. But just to go back to this cell here and just making sure that I do some damage control and making sure that we're not missing anything. I think we're good for now, except for this cell in Geneva County. Just a severe thunderstorm warning. It does have the potential to tighten up, and that could be a tornado warning if it does so. But over the last few scans here, it has weakened. It looked better as it was right there on the border of Geneva and Holmes County, and then a couple minutes later, as it got closer to 52, it lost a little bit of steam. It could tighten back up again, not out of the question at all, but this is the only one of concern for now as this line continues to push on through here. There's no lightning anywhere on this map. I've been looking pretty close. I don't see anything in the Wiregrass, except it's just out of the way of the Wiregrass. I'll show you where there is some lightning, and it's not our area, but it shows you where that better instability is lining up with the wind energy. You do have some lightning strikes just northeast of the Lake Eufaula area, and that's where you're more likely to get some robust convection from this. But David, I think for now, this cell in Geneva County is the only one that we're gonna stay on, but we're scanning the skies as we go.
Yeah, we will continue to monitor the rotation with this cell. We have, of course, a newscast coming up at 5 o'clock. But that line, once again, is the cold front. There is some lightning showing up there north of Eufaula, so a little more robust activity to the north there and some gusty winds along this front. The little pockets of rotation still a possibility, and this cell is out ahead of that main line, so the environment a little more favorable for rotation. This whole setup will kind of fade in the next, say, 2 to 3 hours. So there's a little window yet for potentially some strong cells to come on through, and this cell still has a decent hook with it now off to the northwest of Geneva. It is traveling off to the northeast at about 25 to 30 miles per hour. So on that track, it will carry up here into the northern part of Geneva County, and maybe it's going a little east of northeast, so maybe more east-northeast with that cell. We call these right movers because it's in the very favorable part of the atmosphere to suck in that warm and humid air coming in from the Gulf. So these tend to travel a little more to the right of the actual general flow in the atmosphere. So with that in mind, that would extrapolate somewhere into this area here, north of Hartford, and then perhaps into the western part of Houston County, likely between now and say 5 o'clock or so, moving off to the northeast at 25 to 30 miles per hour. These other cells out ahead of it too have little hints of rotation, but nothing quite as organized as what we're seeing here in Geneva County off to the northwest of Geneva. So very good look here at the heavy rainfall and that very well-defined hook. As Zach mentioned, we're not seeing any lightning, so it's very shallow convection in the atmosphere now. One thing to point out, if we start seeing some lightning strikes, that would indicate a stronger updraft, and that would give the storm or cell a better chance to produce an actual tornado. So that's one thing that we're kind of monitoring here as we go through time. There's maybe, well, maybe not, it's just a little flash there from that area of dark red right there. So very heavy rainfall now north of Geneva. In Geneva, a couple sprinkles, but that's not from this cell. This cell now pretty much northwest of Geneva here, and it is moving off to the northeast. So we'll continue to monitor what is basically broad rotation in the atmosphere, and we're right on the edge from using the Eglin radar and then using the Fort Nova cell. So if I just fudge it a little bit, this is not using the Fort Nova cell radar. These are outbound winds. Green indicates inbound winds, so there's the pocket of rotation north and west now of Geneva, about to move to the north of Geneva as it travels off to the northeast. And I'll go back here just a little bit. There's a new scan coming in. Still decent rotation given the height of the atmosphere that we're scanning. Not quite sure if we're going to see this tighten up enough to produce an actual tornado. That's why it's a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning, but there's certainly that chance for that rotation to tighten up a little bit. I'm going to go back just a little bit here with this view. And there's south and southwest of Lytle, and now here we are north of Geneva. So that rotation area basically sustaining itself. It's not getting necessarily stronger. It's not getting weaker either. And that hook echo is still pretty evident there as we look at this cell in the northern part of Geneva and moving off to the northeast. Again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning on this cell. We will continue to monitor this, and we've got some cameras in the area to kind of look at the sky as well. And if you have any information to share, certainly do that for us and share that with us as we go through time here. Northern part of Geneva County into the western part of Houston County, the southern part of Dale County. That cell is coming in our direction. We will have a newscast coming up at 5 o'clock with an update on the cell, and we'll jump back onto our TV channels and onto the live stream as well if that rotation area tightens up enough to indicate that there's a tornado forming, or if we get an uptick in lightning, that would indicate there's some strengthening occurring as well. Zach, what are you looking at there?
I just put the debris tracker on. Didn't mean to mess with your
that's fine.
Screen there, but I just wanted to show you. It's hard to keep aware of everything that's going on, but that does look like debris just from these few scans here. So definitely something to watch with this cell. I don't think it's done just yet if it's doing stuff like that. So
good catch. Go back to that. That's max 2. So let's go back to max 2. So what we're looking at here, so what Zach had pointed out, this is the debris tracker, which is a product that indicates what's happening in the atmosphere. Now, the only question is that what that hole might be because of the actual lack of returns here because of that hook echo. So that may be, I don't want to say that's confirmation of debris because it might just be the radar showing us that inflow area in the atmosphere. So that's not, I would say that's not, it looks like it's a hole and it's debris. That's not confirmation of debris in this situation because we don't have raindrops everywhere for reference for the radar. We've got some raindrops out there, but yeah, it's a very well-defined hook here on this cell. The radar velocity scans don't necessarily indicate that we have a tornado. Usually in a situation like this, given the distance from the radar sites, if there's a tornado, in my experience of covering weather in the Wiregrass, you'll get one pixel that will be really bright that would indicate very strong winds. So just one pixel of red that goes to pink or one pixel of green that goes to blue would indicate that rotation has tightened enough to produce a tornado, and then you would look for that debris signature. So I think what that little hole that we've been seeing there is just an indication of the hook area here, and not so much debris. No confirmation because I'm standing in Dothan looking at a radar. I'm not out there in Geneva County actually analyzing the sky. So if you are in this area and if you have any information to share with us, certainly be our eyes and ears out there in the field. But just looking at that radar, no confirmation of a tornado. Certainly a very well-defined hook still showing up there north of Geneva. And if we go back to that velocity view, there is distinct rotation, 2 different velocity views we can show you here. This is just the pure motion of the atmosphere. So there's inbound here over Geneva. There's a hint of outbound now north of Geneva. So there's no doubt fairly strong rotation in the atmosphere. How far down to the ground that rotation goes, we can't tell you for sure, but what we can tell you is aloft, there's rotation, and we're going to see if this tightens. That's a little brightening there. Notice that in the past scan or 2, we went from red to at least a little bit of pink showing up. So that's an indication that the outbound winds are strengthening, but the green inbound winds have weakened a little bit. So we've got 2 different radar views. We can switch this and go southward just a little bit, and then use the radar at Red Bay, Eglin. And again, these are outbound now, these are inbound. So there's rotation, but not that real strong gate-to-gate shear that would give me confidence as a meteorologist to say, yes, that's an actual tornado combined with a debris signature. So not quite seeing that. But bottom line, if you live here in the northern part of Geneva County, in this severe thunderstorm warned area, especially north and northeast of Geneva, you want to be someplace safe because this rotating cell is moving in your direction. Again, moving off to the northeast at about 25 or 30 miles per hour. So it wouldn't take much more tightening to produce a tornado. The sun is going down. It's 4:49. I think sunset today was a few minutes ago. So as the sky gets darker, you're not going to be able to go outside and actually see what's happening. Best to be someplace safe. So there's High Falls. This is off to the northeast now of Geneva. What is that? 65, 85, Highway 85 there, northeast of Geneva. So along 85 here, several miles to the northeast and beyond in the northern part of Geneva County, we will see this area of rotation move on through. That will pass northeast of Geneva and then northwest of Hartford, so the northern part here of Geneva County. And you can kind of see here that that hook has lost a little definition, which is definitely what we want to see as far as leading towards no tornado formation. If I grab this and go back just a little bit, you can actually see that hook was a little more well-defined here and not quite as well-defined at this point. So heavy rainfall in the northern part of Geneva County. And we'll give it one more look here at the different velocity scans. And again, a very strong area of rotation. We will keep monitoring this. We've got the newscast coming up, I guess, at 4:58, 4:59 is when it hits. So we will be back on the air shortly, and you can catch the latest on this cell and the other cells that we're watching across the Wiregrass as we track this low-end chance for severe weather over the next couple hours. It will be better as we go deeper into the evening hours, and full details are coming up shortly at 5 o'clock right here on WTVY News 4.
This has been a forewarned weather alert.